listening to 88.1 FM WVYC, the voice of your college. And good afternoon to everybody listening in. My name is Keelan Tallinger, and you are tuned in to In the Studio on this Friday, May 3rd, 2019. And it's a special edition because I've got another guest in the studio for this week. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Bobby Ferda, and it's great to be back.
And yeah, you were my past co-host for, it's been, 2 years?
2 years now.
Yeah, it's been a ride, and you were here last semester around November, and you're back for one last rodeo.
One last rodeo, yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks again for having me.
Nah, no problem. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about, to break down, because I haven't really covered a current issue in about 2 weeks. Last shows with my sister, and by the way, if you want to listen to that, go online to youtube.com and search In the Studio with Keelan Tallinger, and you'll find an archive of all of my past shows, all the monologuing without the music. We've got 5 tracks to play throughout this hour, but also a host of different topics as well. We're going to be examining the death of the subscribe to PewDiePie meme, which kind of sounds strange, but it has some pretty serious implications. Bobby, you are a big movie fan, and you saw Avengers Endgame.
I did.
And also some of the recent episodes of the final season, right?
The final season of Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, so we're going to be covering that. And also the crisis in Venezuela. And also the development of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which we've both been sort of covering outside of the radio show. But I want to start with you, and particularly like what you've been up to this past semester. So, like, have you got any favorite classes you've been attending? What's been going on?
Well, this semester has been very busy. I'm currently taking 6 classes, which amount to 18 credits, and most of them are in either the philosophy or the professional writing department. So I've had a lot of work to do, and I've had a lot of papers to write. But, we're getting to the end of that. So I think my favorite class so far has been my philosophy and film class. Right now I'm working on my final project for that, which is actually a video covering some of the some of the films we've watched in that class and discussing the philosophical themes of that video, and I'm really excited about that.
So you're commentating over it, kind of?
Basically, I'm creating a part analysis, part skit video where I'm having a bunch of characters from the different films interact with each other.
Okay.
So a lot of the films we've watched deal with artificial intelligences and robots,
of course.
and they're all sharing their experiences interacting with humans. And so it's basically an analysis of how humans view artificial intelligence, but from the artificial intelligence's point of view.
That sounds so neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, I'm gonna miss having classes. I think once I'm out of the gates here, because a lot of them, particularly in philosophy, I liked my one film class. I definitely liked all the writing ones, or else I wouldn't have gotten this far. But yeah, yeah. How about scheduling classes for next semester? So what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, as of right now, I'm finished with my professional writing minor, so all of my classes are going to be finishing my philosophy degree. One of the classes I'm looking forward to most is philosophy of technology, which is actually going to be my senior SEM class. So I have to write a senior SEM paper for that project, for that class.
Cool.
Which is going to be a long and strenuous project, but I'm looking forward to it.
And is that going to involve artificial intelligence as well?
Most likely it is, and basically how humans interact with technology.
Awesome. This is definitely right up your alley.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of interesting to me hearing the stories of other people in the school trying to schedule these writing classes, because a lot of them aren't really being filled, and so a lot of them were kind of being canceled.
Yeah, I ran into that problem
a couple times in the past, right?
Yeah, this semester in particular, I originally signed up for document design, but that was canceled due to low enrollment. So now I'm involved in screenwriting, which is a great class, and I'm enjoying it very much.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, I guess they need to find a way to get more students into the program here in professional writing, because like we were saying, the whole you can't fill classes. Well, now the seniors are on their way out, so now you have even less people brought in. And I don't know the specific numbers, but there's got to be maybe like a dozen students at professional writing
Oh yeah, it's a very
in
small
the entire
program.
school.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Philosophy is even smaller. Like I can count the amount of philosophy majors on my hands.
Oh,
But,
geez.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I saw an email from the director of the writing program recently that they're bringing in some sort of like specialist to the school who like has experience designing or advertising these programs. And this professor of some kind wants to come in and talk to the students of the field and find out what they like about their program and hopefully use that as recruiting materials for more students. Because once again, I'm not sure about the real numbers, but there had to have been like 20, 30, something like that, students in the major and the minor at some point. And over the course of my 4 years here, it's just been slowly declining. And it's just been harder and harder to get into these classes. And fortunately, I was done with most of the stuff in my major, I would say, like junior year, second semester. So yeah, I emphasize with the struggle
Yeah.
a little bit. But yeah, what else? Are there any like besides that one senior STEM course? Any other ones that you're interested in, or?
Well, again, I've had some difficulty scheduling classes. I was originally going to sign up for women and gender studies in philosophy, but I had to cancel that because I need to take ethics, and the time slots conflicted with each other.
Gotcha.
And ethics is a requirement for philosophy.
Gotcha. Gotta knock that out of the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we've basically gone through the whole intro of the show. We've got a lot of topics to get through. Plenty of songs as well. What do you say we get the hour kicked off with the first song?
Sounds good.
All right. So coming up next is one of Bobby's picks, and it's from the band The Crossing. Here is their song True North here on WVYC, and we'll be back in 3 minutes. Welcome back to 88.1 FM, WVYC, the voice of your college. My name is Keelan Tellinger, and you are tuned into In the Studio here on WVYC. And with my previous co-host, Bobby Furta, and we're going to tackle the first topic of the afternoon, and it's kind of a strange one. This is about subscribing to PewDiePie, the most popular YouTuber on the internet. And I don't know. I think we brought this up at some point months ago.
We've brought this up a couple times on the
with
show.
this guy because he never really goes away.
Not really,
And I think just last week he had to address the viral phrase that has been sort of attributed to him for years now, to try and up his subscriber count. Kind of like I almost want to say a dare. Would you agree with that? To kind of challenge his fans to spread the word about him and contribute to this battle against this one YouTube channel called T-Series.
I would say that's an accurate description. I mean, it's one thing to say, subscribe to my channel, like as self-promoting or self-branding, but this, it does seem kind of like a dare, like, hey guys, I dare you to do this. It's almost like an internet challenge.
And the kids really drink it up. They wanna contribute to the cause, and let's see, there was a parade sponsored. Not sponsored by PewDiePie, but his fans sponsored one about him in Ethiopia. Where he'd probably encounter a lot of his fans. But I think the recent story, I don't know how far back it was, but somebody defaced a World War II monument in New York City by carving "Subscribe to PewDiePie" in a rock, with the side of a rock or something like that. And where it really boiled over was last month, during the Christchurch shootings in New Zealand. Whereas this shooter was live streaming the event, unfortunately, before he opened fire, of all the things he could shout, it's subscribe to PewDiePie.
Jeez. And I think at that point it brings us to why we're talking about him this week. PewDiePie has stated, please stop the subscribe to PewDiePie movement.
And I don't know. I'm not sure if it's going to work.
I don't think so either. I mean, it's grown beyond, his desire to, promote his own channel and just make it a meme, essentially.
His own image and stuff like that has really gotten out of control. And I think he's made a good first step by broadcasting to his fans, it's time to stop, it's gone too far. I have a quote here, like, to have my name associated with something so unspeakably vile has affected me in more ways that I've let show. Didn't want to address it right away. I didn't want to give the terrorist any more attention. I didn't want to make it about him. But I think he's taken an important first step to sort of dial it back. Now on the flip side, the only question is going to becoming are his fans and the people, who I guess understandably find him annoying, of still carrying this on to kind of counteract that movement. Because I know what sort of got us talking about covering this was I guess a group of his fans rented an airplane and attached a banner to it.
Yeah.
And it's got his little logo with little bro fist in the center of the letter P.
Yeah.
And it's saying subscribe to PewDiePie. That flew earlier this week.
Yeah, over New York City.
Uh-huh. And it's well, you gotta have some control of your fans. I know one of his PewDiePie's quotes again is saying when you have 90 million subscribers, there's bound to be some degenerates inside your community and stuff. I still don't think that excuses it to me.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And it's interesting you mentioned the banner on the airplane, because this week I read an article about that saying there was a bit of controversy over that, or I should say a bit of discrepancy, because the people who organized this claimed that the banner was supposed to say thank you PewDiePie instead of subscribe to PewDiePie, but I don't know if that's accurate.
I don't think so at all. I think they goofed up and they kept the same phrase, and it's still going to carry the same meaning at this point.
Yeah.
The same bad connotation, and you can't really escape it. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just another lesson of just how, I guess, corrosive and toxic the internet community can be when you have your image out there to so many different people, and they're interpreting it in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, but I do think you're right in saying that he took the right first step in distancing himself from this and advocating, guys, please stop this.
Are people gonna listen is the thing.
Yeah, that's the big question.
Because he does have a lot of fans, and I guess I could put that in quotation marks. This is sort of what I'm saying about people who are still out to sort of get him and kind of ruin his image, that there's still a lot of people on the alt-right community that will still support this guy. And again, if you've been hearing us before talk about this guy, he's had a fair share of controversies of anti-Semitic views and Nazi sympathy and stuff like that. And this is a story that's been going on for a long time, and I still call into question his usefulness for being in front of teenagers and adolescents as a role model.
Right.
So yeah, I have no idea where it's going to go from here, but I still don't really like him too much.
Well, the problem is, like you said, he has 90 million subscribers. With that amount of attention, he's not going away, at least not anytime soon. So it's really difficult to say. It's really up to the internet community to be the judges themselves, but it's difficult.
Yeah,
like you said.
We'll see where it goes, but what do you say we wrap it up and move on to the next portion of the show? What do you say?
All right.
And that will be the first weather check of the hour here on 88.1 FM. So, yeah, I think we're ready to move on to the second song of the hour.
All right, what we got?
And I've got this song from Old Man Canyon, the song Wiser. And we will be back in about, let's say, 4 minutes to continue the hour here on WVYC. Stay tuned. Old Man Canyon with Wiser here on 88.1 FM WVYC. You're listening to the voice of your college, and my name is Keelan Tollinger. He's Bobby Furta, and he's with us in the studio for the next 40 minutes or so. So we'll move right into the next topic, and it's probably the biggest one. This is your jam. You saw the culmination of how many movies was it?
22.
22 in one series.
Yep, this is
of,
the
superhero
23rd.
movies.
This is the 23rd movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Avengers Endgame.
Yep, and it's actually kind of fitting because yesterday was the 11th anniversary of the first Iron Man movie, which started the Marvel Universe.
Huh.
Yeah.
So wow, it's just
Yep.
like taking that in and just like how quickly they've been able to generate these films, and just like wrap it up in just over a decade is pretty surreal.
Yeah.
And you followed every bit of it.
I did, yeah.
So yeah, it's been with you for a long time. So
Yep.
give me your opinions on the movie.
Okay. Well, I saw it with a group of friends, so
Mhm.
and before we went to see it, we all took like bets to see who was going to cry at the movie.
Are you okay?
Yeah. I will admit I came close. I came close.
It can't help but tear
It
up
was
when it's.
it was a very I describe it as an emotional roller coaster.
Oh, boy.
It was a great experience, and it was very exciting. It was very sad, but it was a great movie in my opinion.
Awesome. Alrighty. How long was the runtime again? 3 hours.
The
and-
runtime is 3 hours and 1 minute, but if you factor in the previews before that, it's like 3 hours and 20 minutes
Oh
or something.
jeez. And let me guess, nobody got up to see the bathrooms or anything or get
Nope.
more snacks.
No.
Yeah, everybody was glued into the seats.
Yep.
Ah, cool. So my next question now is going to be, how did you isolate yourself from spoilers that whole time? Because you went on Saturday night.
Yeah,
right?
I went on Saturday night, the night after it premiered. And before that, like, the directors of the movie, the Russo brothers, issued statements. Please do not spoil Endgame. You know, they
At
were
all.
they were asking the internet community, please do not spoil this for those who haven't seen it. And I knew, you know, instantly people were going to spoil it. So I basically had to take it upon myself to shut my phone off and stay off of social media altogether.
Okay, so yeah.
So before that, I had to turn off like all notifications on my phone. Like I basically had to stay off of it for almost a full day.
Wow.
Yeah, to avoid spoilers.
Takes some dedication. I know. Let's see. It was Saturday afternoon, and I was just like, killing some time in a video game or something, and like somebody renamed their profile online to yada 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 da da da. It's just like this big spoiler in their username, and it's just
Wow.
like has joined the game, and it's like
If
uh-oh. If I was an actual fan, I guess I would be kind of heartbroken at that point.
I came close to a similar experience.
Oh, okay.
I almost, well, I kind of did get something like that before I learned my lesson and shut my phone off. I got a notification from a profile that said yada 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 da 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 da.
Oh,
I'm not gonna say anything
was
specifics, but it
partially
was
ruined for you.
partially ruined. But again, I had no idea what was going to happen or how or why.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
the full experience was not ruined for me.
Okay. I know there were like some stories of like celebrities that kind of spoiled it. I forget who it was. I think LaShawn McCoy, an NFL player for I think the Buffalo Bills. It's like R.I.P. my homie. Da 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 da.
I did hear about that. I didn't actually see it, so I didn't know what
Mhm.
happened. But of course, now I know what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure plenty of people maybe got rid of their jerseys over that. But
Oh yeah, I certainly would have.
but yeah, it was. I just like I guess I kind of admire every fan's like dedication
Mhm.
to the series and treating it so revering it and following it so I guess religiously is kind of the word I could use.
Well, yeah, the series is 11 years old. You know, people have grown up with these characters. I mean, not just in the movies, but in the comics and in some cases TV shows. So,
Mhm.
you know, these are part of our childhood, and yeah, the nostalgic factor is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, they're very identifiable. You know, everyone has their favorite Avenger or superhero or even side character just because of their personality, their actions, and, you know, we can look at them and say, you know what, I want to be more like them, or okay, if I were in the same situation, I'd do the same thing.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
But did they have to? I don't want to say like have to, but for all these different individual figures in this series, having a movie for their origin story, and then a sequel to their origin story or something like that, and just like multiple iterations of explaining something about them when these, I would assume, already exist in like a comic book, for instance, or already appearing in print. So, you think there's like a factor of like the directors dragging it out a little bit, perhaps? Or no, you think that the time that they took to dedicate time to all these different people is what makes the the end result so ultimately impactful?
I would say it's the time and effort they take to bring these characters to life. I mean, it's one thing to read about them in a book, and it's one thing to see them like acted out in a movie. And some of them are pitch perfect, some of them differ a little, and that's what's so great about it. You can easily say, yes, that's my Captain America, or okay, he may not be my Spider-Man, but you know what? He's another version of Spider-Man that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so final thing before we move on to the next part of this media tour is, do you think it will ultimately increase readership in the comic books now that perhaps the saga is over?
I think so. One thing we did before we went to see the movie is we stopped at the comic book store.
Okay.
And yeah, a lot of people have gotten into comic books and graphic novels and that whole fan base because of how popular the MCU has been. So yeah, I will think so. And yeah, I know that before this movie was released and the last movie, a lot of reprints of the comic books featuring Thanos and the Infinity Stones were reprinted to meet the demand for it. So yeah.
And just really quick, where does it go from here? Do they make a new spin-off series, or is it just done for good?
They are talking about some spin-off series, and they have announced a few new movies, which you can look up online. But for the most part, they have wrapped up a lot of characters' story arcs, and this will be the last time we see a lot of them for various reasons.
Awesome.
I'm not going to say who specifically, but
yeah.
yeah.
They are probably going to think about generating another 10-year sort of saga at some point. Because it's a lot of money. I think like the highest grossing film of the year already, 1.2 billion at the worldwide box office. Pretty crazy numbers.
In just its first weekend, it's the biggest opening weekend ever.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Pretty successful. All right, so we've reached the 3:30 mark here in the studio, and I think now is a great time to Bobby take care of that hourly PSA. Awesome. Thanks for that. And we'll move right into the next topic, and another one of the things that you enjoy watching, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, this was a big weekend. Endgame and Game of Thrones.
Did you have to, isn't the Game of Thrones episodes, every Friday night?
It's Sunday night, actually.
Oh, okay, so you didn't have to, debate about which you're going to, dedicate your time to, no flip of the coin or anything.
Fortunately, I was able to watch both.
Gotcha. And I think this newest episode, the one is everybody's talking about it, well, to begin with, because it's the final season.
Yep, it's the final season, and this was advertised to be the largest battle in the history of the show, and it was an hour and a half long episode, and the whole episode focused on this battle, the Battle of Winterfell, which was actually the longest fantasy battle in movies and TV, even longer than Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings.
In history.
Yeah.
And I think I saw 84 minutes of
Yep.
That's crazy. And I think a lot of people were sort of talking about it a bunch because they couldn't see it.
Yeah, this was a big thing. People were letting everyone know ahead of time, before you watch this, make sure you turn up the brightness on your TV, you turn down all the exterior lights, because you can't see a thing. I mean, the episode is called The Long Night, and, it takes place during a storm. There's very minimal lighting. It's done with a lot of fire effects. But, besides that, it's very hard to see. Like, I had to tell my friends and my parents and everyone else who watches the show, guys, turn up the brightness on your TV, turn off all the lights, or you can't see a thing.
I don't know if that's either a fault of the producers for maybe not thinking ahead, or it's just really important for like the atmosphere of the whole event.
There's a whole bunch of memes on that issue. Look them up. They're pretty funny.
Okay, gotcha.
Did I shoot this episode too dark? No, it's the TV's fault.
Yeah. Oh, and final question that I sort of have. So, from your opinion as somebody who's probably watched the entire series,
Yep.
has it sort of been regressing in quality to you?
Well, I will say this last episode was exciting, but in terms of the overall story and what this episode has been built up to, I find it a little disappointing.
Okay.
And it does resolve a major story arc of the show, and now I'm just left with, well, where does it go from here? Like, this was supposed to be like the end, but there's still 3 more episodes of it. So
Oh.
I'm like, okay, now what?
I've just been hearing opinions of people like, well, the first season were really great, and now it's kind of like you sort of get lazy with it, and they're not firing on all cylinders, and hopefully doesn't like kill anybody's interest entirely before the end of the series, but probably not.
Well, the problem is the first several seasons were based on the books by George R.R. Martin, but he stopped writing them and is still writing the last one. So now the writers of the show have had to take it upon themselves to write the stories.
And
So
they're probably not doing as good of a job.
Not as much as, George R.R. Martin in the previous seasons, and
Gotcha.
it shows.
Gotcha.
I'm still watching it. It's still good, but it does show.
Needs a little bit of help.
It does.
All right. So, yeah, thanks for catching us up on all the goings-on in the media. And we will probably take a break because we've talked for about 10 minutes or so and play a song that you've picked out. And it's a recent release related to Game of Thrones.
Yes, this was actually played in the second episode of this season. It's called Jenny and the Old Stones by Florence and the Machine.
All right, cool. So we will take 3 minutes to play that, and we will be right back on the other side of this break here on WVYC. Stay tuned. Jenny of Old Stones by Florence and the Machine here on 88.1 FM WVYC. I'm Keelan Tollinger, and I'm still with Bobby Furta, one of my past co-hosts. And the next topic we're going to tackle is Venezuela.
Yep.
It's been in the news in the past week about this military coup that they were trying to stage and remove the current president, or so they say, Maduro, from his post. And it didn't seem to work out really, because the military isn't quite on this interim president's side. I think the whole issue sort of originated from a apparently fraudulent election, and now with the people reacting to and protesting against the failed economy of like a million % rate of inflation or something like that, where like the whole country is kind of bankrupt.
Pretty much.
And now things have got to change, but they don't really have the power as citizens to do that. And I was just sort of thinking to myself just how scary that must be to actually live in sort of a, I don't know if I want to call it a dictatorship yet, but a president who refuses to step down after losing most, I would say, popularity with the people. What do you think about that?
Well, it's interesting you said I don't want to call it a dictatorship per se, because, from an outside perspective, it certainly does seem that way, but, we really don't have an inside perspective. But, yeah, it is kind of sad, honestly, when you have people trying to, make a difference, but they just don't have, the manpower or the strength to accomplish it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Hopefully it's going to be solved for them in time. Because, I mean, this country used to be one of the richest in Latin America with their oil reserves. And all of a sudden it's kind of, I wouldn't say all of a sudden, but it has evaporated out of their control. And I was doing some research just trying to trace the events of how this could happen. And it was after Hugo Chavez appointed this President Maduro that things started to sort of go downhill. And let's see, this other politician, Guaido, I think he's only like 35 years old, and trying to sort of step in and take over the reins. He doesn't have, I don't think, the military completely on his side yet. There is like an organized opposition, but they don't have the strength really to dethrone
Yeah.
Maduro.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the full support, which is one of the reasons why this attempted coup failed.
Do you think they might need to use like military intervention, either from themselves or maybe in a different country like us, to solve this?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, with Trump still in power, I don't know if they're going to necessarily see aid from us anytime soon.
I think we've tried. I think we have at least recognized that Guaido is the interim president and should be the one in power. It's just that there's other influences such as Russia and Cuba that are sort of saying everything's fine.
Oh yeah, I agree
We're
with that.
still gonna give them some aid and it'll all be fine. I don't know where it's gonna head.
So yeah, it really just determines on who has the power and, who can get power from other nations. You mentioned Cuba and Russia. They're very powerful nations, especially in terms of military.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And when you think about like, well, what could we do in our country if we sort of had this civil war kind of situation? And honestly, I think the power still kind of would ride with us as citizens because we still have our own weapons, sort of. The right to own guns, and really the big thing is that in Venezuela, the citizens don't have private ownership. They can't fight back. They can't organize and stuff.
yeah.
They turned in their rights to own guns when I think Chavez a decade ago or something proclaimed that this was an action they needed to take because of the high rate of homicides in the country. So now they've sort of left themselves defenseless, and it's kind of sad to see.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's really much more to add than that. What do you say?
All right, so what we have coming up next?
All right, we're going to get the second weather check of the hour out of the way here on 88.1 FM. We'll get back into the songs in a moment.
Wow, I wish it was summer already.
Yeah, it's been kind of like it's not really making up its mind of whether it wants to be summer yet. I know spring is a very, like short period here in Pennsylvania,
Yep.
but it's hanging on as long as it can. I don't think the air conditioning is switched on for you yet, has it?
It has, but it's very ineffective. I mostly have my windows open, so...
Yeah. And we don't even have air conditioning in Tyler Run 3, so I will not miss that. But yeah, coming up next on In the Studio is another one of Bobby's picks. This is from Andrew McMahon, In the Wilderness, and the song Cecilia and the Satellite. Take a listen, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Very precise here on 88.1 FM. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 88.1 FM, WVYC, the voice of your college. You're with me, Keelan Tollinger, and you are in the studio. I also got with me Bobby Furta, and the next topic on the agenda is kind of a strange one. It is the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the trailer that announced this week. And had a pretty sizable uproar about it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and the uproar was pretty much unanimously agreed. Fans are not happy with how he looks.
I don't know what they expected. Because, I mean, honestly, you have a cartoon hedgehog with blue fur. I mean, he is kind of, I wouldn't say supernatural, but he can do all these different crazy things. He's supposed to be kind of wacky, but
but the thing is, they tried to make him too realistic by giving him human features. So what fans expected is that fans expected Sonic to look like Sonic the Hedgehog from the video games. He has contorted features like extra long legs, larger head, that weird eye design.
And they sort of like canceled it out to try and make it more, I guess, I don't know, relatable to humans? I'm not sure.
Yeah, but the problem is there's a fine line between making it look more human-like and losing what makes him distinct and recognizable.
I guess, yeah. I don't see really too much of a problem with it. I mean, I certainly maybe not going to go and see it. But what about you? I think you said you were kind of interested in seeing it.
I was interested when I heard about it because, Sonic isn't my favorite video game character, but I do respect him, and yeah, I was interested to see what they would do with it. And yeah, the response has been so negative that the director of the film and the studio have had to respond to all this negative criticism.
It was just last night on Twitter that they say, we hear you, and we're going to change some stuff.
Yeah.
Did they announce like a release date for this movie yet?
Yeah, it's sometime in November, and yeah, the director of it tweeted last night that everyone in Paramount and Sega are redesigning Sonic to make him look the best he can be.
But how are they going to do that when the movie comes out in November?
Yeah, that's the problem. The fans want Sonic to look good. They want him to look like the character that they all know and love, but with such a a timestamp like this, they have to recognize that they can't rush this, because otherwise we get Sonic 06.
Oh, and isn't that like the really terrible Xbox 360 game?
That is the anniversary Sonic the Hedgehog Xbox 360 game that was rushed to meet the anniversary, and it was just a disaster.
Yeah, I've never played it, but I probably wouldn't like it too much.
No one likes it.
Boy.
But yeah, the issue with this movie is, they now have to rush to fix Sonic's look. So there's a toss-up. Do you want this movie to come out, quicker, or do you want it to take more time to make it look good?
Yeah.
Now, I'm in favor of making Sonic look the best he can be, but if that means, taking extra time to make sure that the movie is the best it can be, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's rushed, it's probably just going to fail.
Yeah, and I think comparatively, I think what a lot of people are actually psyched about is the Detective Pikachu movie, the live-action Pokemon film. I mean, they've made dozens of animated ones, but they want to bring it to the real world and tell a story of, is it like a kid that finds this talking Pikachu, and now they're going to solve a crime together, something like that?
Yep, they're going to solve the disappearance of his dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he finds this Pikachu that is able to speak English and wears a hat, like a Sherlock Holmes style hat.
And is voiced by Ryan Reynolds.
Is voiced by Deadpool, yeah.
And yet that still has a much better reception, despite the fact that this is still kind of like translating cartoon creatures into the real world. It hasn't really... I think it creeped some people out before, but it's not really that bad now.
Yeah, the initial response was sort of similar. In the cartoons, they look all cute and, something you want to cuddle with, especially if you buy a stuffed animal, that's what it looks like. But if you translate that into real life, they do look a little...
giant life-size monsters.
Yeah, and that's the thing people forget about Pokemon. They are pocket monsters. That's what Pokemon means.
So I know that I think a lot of more people are gonna come out to see that movie at least, and it'll probably be a success. But I'm not sure. I don't think it's looking good for Sonic, man.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about Detective Pikachu is, the studio took time to make sure that Pokemon was appreciated and represented right, so that the fans would know and love it. With Sonic, it just looks like the studio was trying to cash in on the character's success rather than be faithful to the source material.
Ouch.
And that's what I don't like about it.
Ouch. All right. Well, we'll see how it turns out. We probably won't be around to talk about whether it succeeded or failed in the eyes of consumers, the new redesign. But let's move right along to the final song of the hour. And what do you say we come back and close things out?
All right.
All right. Final song of the hour here on 88.1 FM is from Turnover and their song Hello Euphoria. Take a listen, and we will be back in about 3 minutes here on the Voice of York College. Stay tuned. Hello Euphoria here on 88.1 FM, the voice of York College. And we're about to close things out here on in the studio. My name is Keelan Tollinger, and he is Bobby Furta. Mm-hmm. And is there anything else you really wanted to add before we close out the show?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I've just been reflecting on the past 2 years that I've been, a radio co-host on your show, and it's just been a great experience. Like, when I first came to college, I never imagined like I'd get into this, and it's just been such a fun experience, and I had a great time. So I just want to say thank you for having me on this journey of yours.
Thank you for sort of teaching me the ropes as I sort of learn them as well. Because working with somebody and just like understanding how to like carry on a conversation over the air when you're sort of feeling nervous and your heart is hammering in your chest, and having a friend there to sort of to guide you along is a lot of help, and I appreciate you sort of always being there.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Thank you.
thank you. Let's see what else. We got about a minute left. You think you'll probably do stuff like this again, perhaps, if it ever comes up?
I don't know. As of right now, I don't have any plans to continue with this, at least not here at the college. If I can hopefully get into it, like in a professional situation, like at least once, that would be great. But as of right now, I don't see something like that happening, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, it was still an experience that you could take with you out of college and tell the generations to come. But yeah, I can't really think of anything else really to add. We're sort of running low on time, and just want to say thank you again for being along with the journey here.
It's been quite a journey.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, final song of the hour as we close things off is by the Black Keys and their song Eagle Birds. But yeah, I hope to catch every one of you back next week when I do my final show here on In the Studio. Hopefully it'll be a great one with some reflections on my time here at York College, and looking forward into the future. But if you want to catch up, remember to go online to youtube.com and search In the Studio with Keelan Tollinger, and yeah, get caught up to speed. But thank you once again for tuning in. My name is Keelan Tollinger.
And I'm Bobby Ferda. Thank you for listening.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good weekend.
See ya.